Be sure to attend the festival in July of each year because its tomatoes are known throughout the produce world for its delicious prized crop.
It's just a time when you get together with people and you just have a great time and you have such good tomatoes. Tomatoes are very important in this area. They are the crop, they are the life of Grainger County. Without the tomato growers, a lot of people would never be able to taste a Grainger County tomato to start with. And then once you've tasted one, you don't want anything else. Especially if you can go, right back behind me here and get a tomato right out of the field, wipe it off and eat it. And those are the best type. But if you have to have a tomato sandwich, you could put a little bit of mayo on it and make it even better.
The tomatoes we grow in our area, we're very prideful of them. They're the best tomatoes, best flavor, best tasting tomatoes in the world. Let me tell you how you can tell a good tomato. A good tomato is you take your tomato and you slice it and you put it on a plate and then you go ahead and eat it. Your plate should be full of juice when you're finished. If it's not the right tomato. My family has grown tomatoes for many, many years. My grandfather started growing tomatoes back in the 50s. I've even known some people that grew tomatoes into the 40s. And then it just progressed on to my dad growing tomatoes. And then now I grow tomatoes. Now my son grows tomatoes. So it's probably been going on 70 years. My first memory, I guess, was when I was about 5 years old, working in the field, in the tomato field with my dad. And it just so happened that the Grainger County News showed up that day and took a picture of Dad and I, and it was put in the paper. I grow an Empire tomato now, an Empire tomato or a Celebrity tomato. Either of those tomatoes have a really good flavor, they produce well, and the quality of the fruit is really good. Our year generally starts before Christmas, when we first begin to sow the tomatoes. Now when I'm talking about sow the tomatoes, we take the seed and put them in seed flats, germinate them, get them up, put them into growing cells, where eventually those are transplanted from the cells into the soil inside the greenhouses. The greenhouse tomatoes are just as good or just as flavorful as the field tomatoes because it's grown in the same soil. My greenhouses are less than 100 yards from where we're standing right now. We start them then. It's very labor intensive. Grainger County tomatoes, the farmers have always focused on a tomato that had a really good flavor. And a lot of people don't realize that different tomatoes have different flavors. They've always made the assumption that there was something in our soil in this area. Most of our red tomatoes are very acidic. They have a very acidic taste to them that you just don't find other places. That's the flavor that I'm speaking of. And that's what people, once they get it, they yearn for more. When we first got the news of the Tomato Festival coming to town, so to speak, I think everybody's pretty excited because it was going to put the name of the Grainger County tomato out there.
I'm Doug Smith, and I was one of the original organizers of the Grainger County Tomato Festival. We met in 1992 in Rutledge on a parking lot. We were having a garage sale. John Beckwith and myself was sitting there talking. We weren't selling much, but we were talking about what can we do to put our tomatoes out to the rest of the world. I guess both of us were a little crazy. I don't know really why we were just talking. You know how sometimes you'll say, well, someday we'll do this or we'll do that. The more we talked, the more we thought, well, maybe this will really work. It continued to grow every year. It's the last full weekend in July every year, so that's going to be hot here. We generally had a good thunderstorm and maybe take a few tents down, but it still just kept growing and growing because people here liked the idea. We were proud of our tomatoes, as we should be, and I don't think there's any other reason really.
I love the Grainger County Tomato Festival. I have pride in everything that we do in the festival because it all goes to local. It stays right here. It helps our economy in Grainger County. There are a lot of things going on this time of the year, but we're going back in time on a lot of things, to history. We want to promote the festival. We want people to come back. Have you ever seen a blacksmith? You know, have you ever seen a leathersmith, how they cure the leather, how they do their craft? And a lot of people want to see those things. Come on down. We're friendly. We won't bite, you know. The only thing that we might bite is a tomato.
The Tomato Festival is very important to me. At that time of the year, you generally will have an abundance of tomatoes, and that's when the canning tomatoes are ready. And it gives you a really good outlet to move a lot of your canning tomatoes and stuff like that for people. And it's easier for them to come get them because they're not having to search for my farm. They come to Rutledge and it's right there on campus, and it's easily located, and we load them down and send them back packing. We have a lot of neat activities with the tomatoes. They sell fried green tomatoes. Most of the food vendors are putting Grainger County tomatoes on their sandwiches. The most exciting thing is probably the tomato wars. There's different teams that come in and they have a tomato fight, basically, throwing tomatoes at one another. So a lot of people come out to see that. They seem to really enjoy it. The festival has been really good for the growers because of making, probably more than anything, awareness of this tomato and where its outreaches. You can get a Grainger County tomato as far as Florida south, Canada north, California west, and of course all the East Coast. I had a friend of mine that was in California, and he called me, and it was early in the season, and I don't even remember where it was, but he took a snapshot of himself and holding a Grainger County tomato and sent it back to me. They've been put on airplanes. I know a guy that used to fly tomatoes to New York, and they're just ever reaching, you know. We have met a family that come every year only to the Tomato Festival, only to get these tomatoes from Orlando, Florida. Mother and her daughter and her grandchildren. They come every year and have been coming for about 10 years now. I can count on it. She actually will call us a week ahead of time, tell us what all she wants, and she comes up and spends the night, and they gather everything up and head back to Florida. It makes you feel good, you know, because you know they're actually coming just to get these tomatoes. And of course, they're making it a family vacation or a part of their family vacation to pass through little old Rutledge, Tennessee on the last weekend of July for the festival.